Have you ever asked a simple question and ended up with 1,000 pages of answers? Not because the answer was clear, because the answer kept expanding. You wanted to understand one issue, one verse, one command, one concern. Instead, you found yourself moving through reports, narrations, chains, scholars, commentaries, collections, classifications, and explanations. And somewhere in the middle of all of this, a quiet thought appeared. Why does something supposedly simple feel so complicated? At first, the hadith seemed helpful. Additional detail, additional context, additional understanding. You were told they explained what the Quran left unsaid, clarified what appeared unclear, expanded what appeared brief, and that sounded reasonable, until you began noticing how often the explanation became larger than the original question. So you started with a verse, then someone directed you to a hadith. The hadith raised another issue. That issue required another hadith, then a scholar, then another scholar, then another discussion about authenticity, then a discussion about interpretation, then a discussion about context. Then an answer kept growing and the question remained. You noticed something else. The confidence often arrived before the certainty. People sounded unsure, yet appeared to be sure, very sure. Yet the path leading to that confidence seemed increasingly complex, so complex that it was almost impossible to walk. Collections compiled generations later, narrations debated by scholars, reports accepted by some and rejected by others, arguments about reality, arguments about memory, arguments about transmission, and the structure felt much larger than you expected. The pressure became personal, because now you were not simply evaluating a teaching, you were evaluating the machinery supporting the teaching. And the question changed, not is this hadith authentic, but why does so much depend on it? Why does understanding Allah increasingly depend upon understanding reports about Muhammad? Why does clarity seem to require layers upon layers of explanation? And why do these layers keep expanding? You still wanted the truth. That hadn't changed. But honesty was forcing another recognition. The more answers you received, the more dependent those answers seemed on an ever-growing framework surrounding one man. And once that recognition appeared, it refused to leave, because now the question was larger than an individual narration. It was becoming a question about authority itself. The search became heavier when the explanation grew larger than the question itself. What began as a desire to understand Allah slowly became an investigation into an expanding body of traditions surrounding the life of his prophet.